So today is an extraordinary opportunity to know more about our self-care, about health, and about our wellness with Eve. Eve, could you please introduce yourself and what do you do for business?
Yes, absolutely. So this is the who I am and what I do kind of section, right? So I'm Eve the coach. I say that together because that's the name of my Facebook page and the Instagram account as well. Eve the coach with two underscores between three words. And so my name is Eve, and I'm a health and wellness coach. And I see my job as connecting people to their healthier, happier, and cleaner life. Basically, in other words, it's I can say that I help people to integrate a healthier lifestyle and become and just start feeling better and enjoy their energy more, have more energy, feel more vital on everyday basis. And do all this holistically is very important, not like using some funny shortcuts that actually cost you health in the end rather than give you health. So I also believe that this thing, holistic lifestyle, doesn't have to be really hard or time consuming. Like a lot of people have this belief that it will be. That's why they never even try starting. But I totally know it's not that I believe it. I know that it's not hard. I know that it's not time consuming. And it's just doing it the right way that actually matters. Because when people start to change too many things at once in their lifestyle, they don't give themselves a lot of chances to succeed. And a lot of other things can get in the way, like sometimes people just address the externals of the healthy lifestyle and not their mindset. And unless it's done the right way from the roots, not just, the surface of the things, it's just not going to stick. A lot of people who try going on a diet can confirm that it's actually quite hard to not have a yo-yo effect unless your whole being is aligned with what you're doing and you are going to develop a habit rather than just go on a diet and then relax and go back to where it was or even worse. Um, so this is what I do, and I would say that when I do the coaching, I start with improving the relationship with how to say, for that person I'm working with, improving the relationship with themselves, like improving how they think of themselves. It's a much deeper work than just the external level. It's the identity level, like how they think of themselves, how they start to respect their body. Like, because a lot of people don't really just take what they are for granted. They just don't really even realize what sort of miracle our body is and what it does for us every day, 24/7. They don't realize that it's like with the money. If you have some money in your account and you just keep spending and not putting anything back, at one point you just run below the below the zero and you don't have anything left. It's kind of more obvious with the money and less obvious with the health and self-care. So this is the awareness I'm trying to create when I start working with people. And also I just want to say that once the relationship with ourselves is healed, improved, the self-esteem is kind of adequate, and we respect our body, everything else just comes sort of naturally. Everything else that we want in life will just come naturally. Like, it will be much easier to get everything else that we want. So I see self-care as the basis, as the source of everything else.
So my first question here, you mentioned the word holistic. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, that's a good question. To me, holistic means really treating a human being as a whole. It's not just the body that we want to improve. Although a lot of people just come like this, like, oh, I want to lose some weight, I want to look better, I want to feel more comfortable in my own skin. Um, and it's all great. It will all come when we treat the human being as a whole being. And we have more than just the body. It's also the mind, it's also the soul, something invisible. We don't really know what it is, but everyone knows that we are not just the body mind, something else is there. We have feelings, we have all these things that we cannot even describe, we cannot put our fingers at, but it's there, and it actually is the source of everything else. It's the reason for everything else. How it is, how the body is, comes from there, comes from that invisible vastness. I don't really know how to call it. Let's call it the soul, let's call it the spirit. So addressing all of that, and actually the root of this all is our self-identity, like what we think we are, what we think of ourselves. And actually we all have a very clear picture of ourselves, even without realizing it. We don't really know what we think of ourselves until we start looking into it and discover what is right there, what kind of helps us in life. And some aspects of it can be really dysfunctional, and they can and should be improved, and it will have a ripple effect in absolutely everything else in life. So this is what I mean by holistic. Holistic means treating the human being as a whole, body, mind, and spirit, on all three levels.
You also mentioned our relationship with ourselves, with our like self-care. What do you mean by that, and how to improve this?
Yeah, because this is the very essence of what I do. This is we, even though it's like just I'm just one, right? How can I have a relationship with myself? But that's actually true. We do have relationship with ourselves. Every one of us knows that we have all these voices in our heads, like talking to ourselves. And even the way we take care of ourselves is the reflection of how our relationship with ourselves is. Like, if I don't like myself, I will not want to take care of myself properly, right? Why would I want to take care of someone whom I don't like? And it can, and if in this case it's myself, then I would just kind of really put it to the last. It will be the last thing I do. It will not be something I will not really live consciously of the fact that I am my own most valuable asset. Like, tell me, Nour, who is going to create everything you want to create in your life? Like, you probably have goals, you probably have some dreams. Who is going to create all of those for you?
Myself, of course.
Yes, yeah, but we take all these things for granted. Yes, surely it's you. And who is going to enjoy whatever you create in the end?
It's
And
me.
in the process as well.
Yeah, it's me.
Yeah, it's also you. It's always you. And also, who is going to decide to make better choices in terms of how you live, in terms of your self-care? Your mom cannot do it for you. Your mom can try. She can tell you, like, no, you need to eat better, you need to exercise, you need to do that. It's good for you, do that. But unless you decide inside, nothing will change, right? Even if it's your mom, or even if it's your like someone close to you, someone whose opinion is important for you, you need to decide it about yourself. And unless this is the relationship with yourself, unless you decide, unless you understand that everything comes from you, you are the source of everything else in your life. Like, quite literally, I cannot overstate it. I cannot say it enough. I don't really know how to make it more obvious. This relationship is at the core of everything else, absolutely everything else. Like, for example, if you, let's say you have as much money as Jeff Bezos, 100 billions, I think he has by now. And, but at the same time, let's say you have a terminal illness. What all this money are going to do for you if you cannot even enjoy it, if you cannot even spend it, if you cannot do whatever you want to do because you have this thing that drags you down, and it means that you don't really have much time or energy or health to use it, to enjoy it. And the same with the relationships. It all comes from our relationship with ourselves. And it's possible, not only possible, it's absolutely necessary to start there. That's the only thing I want, because it has the ripple effect everywhere else, in every area of life. It will manifest. If it's improved there, everything else will be improved. Our relationships with other people, our situation with the money, our situation with career and purpose, and how fulfilled we are. Because until we respect ourselves and value ourselves, it's not going to, we are not going to be able to create what we want. It's like pushing the accelerator and the brake at the same time, that sort of thing. It's like sabotaging ourselves without even knowing that we are doing it.
Yeah, so my subsequent question here, you mentioned sabotaging ourselves. Like, can our relationships with ourselves be unhealthy?
Yeah, and it's unfortunately it's rarely healthy, because unless we pay attention to it, it just goes, how to say, naturally it will not improve. We need to make some efforts. It's basically like in any relationship. You can just apply it to any external relationship you have. Unless you unless you realize that what other person thinks and feels is actually important, and you start listening to them, and you start to really kind of make an effort for them, the relationship is not going anywhere, right? It just, like, usually with a lot of people, it goes rather down than up. And the same with ourselves. Unless we develop this healthy appreciation for what we actually are, because most of the people don't really know what we are. We know what our persona is like, but it's not who we are. Unless we start to explore into this, our self-identity, a little bit more, and develop this healthy relationship, and, like in that external relationship, learn to listen to ourselves, learn to listen to our body when it's trying to send some signals, give us some feedback, learn to respect it, learn to take care of it, because unless we take care of it, it's going to get ill. It's not going to give us what we want. So yeah, I guess I'm just repeating myself. It's all in our relationship with ourselves.
Does this relationship depend only on our understanding? Like, it can be only a decision, or does it need practice and exercise?
Decision is always first. And also, just the decision without action is not enough. You take decision and then you take action, because the results can only come from action. Like if you decide and keep on just doing exactly the same thing you've been doing before, but you've decided to do something else, it means you haven't really taken this decision. Decision must lead to action. And actually, the earlier the better. Like basically, taking decision and not taking action straight away denies the decision, like as if it didn't exist, and it makes it harder for you next time to take this decision. It's like when people decide to do something healthy themselves and then do nothing, it creates the negative momentum. So next time they don't really believe that they can do it, and they hesitate and they think, oh, like I've tried already and it failed, can I even do it at all? So the best thing is just take decision and go for it. Do something immediately. It creates momentum. Do something else. It doesn't have to be big, but it has to be action.
So my question here, of course, there are many challenges in this path because it's not easy. But what do you think the challenges are there?
The challenges, yeah, there are quite a lot of them. But I would say, yeah, I could summarize them to first, low ambition, because people stop believing that they can feel better. They, for some reason, not for some reason, there are very clear reasons for that. They just get used to feeling worse and worse, and because they believe a lot of negative things that are in the environment, like for example, blaming the age for how they feel, which is not true. It's their lifestyle that makes them feel this way. It's not the age as such. Number of years doesn't really change the way we feel. It's how we live every day. It's our lifestyle that actually matters. And a lot of other beliefs can contribute to this. So low ambition means, like, you know, this experiment with the frog. Like if you put the frog in just a warm water and gradually start to increase the temperature, this frog will stay there because the change is so little, it doesn't feel that it's being boiled alive, and it will be boiled alive, it will die in this water. But if you do it quickly, you put the frog in the hot water already, it will jump straight out because they are not their body is not used to that, and they feel that no, it's not good for me. I need to escape as fast as possible. The same with people. The change comes so easily, incremental, little bits every single day. It's a compounding effect. And at one point, people feel like, well, but that's how I feel. There is nothing much better possible. And the ambition gets low, the standard gets low, and they don't even try to kind of do something to change things. The other thing is negative self-image. Negative self-image and negative body image. Like literally what I said before, when we don't like ourselves, we won't take care of ourselves. Like, why bother? If this thing that I am is not worth it, why bother taking care of it? It's not really, it doesn't see it will not come naturally. Or you can do something and then you're like, oh no, that's too hard, that takes too much effort, I'm not going to bother. Also, another thing is comfort addiction. If do you know what I mean? Like people these days really into it a lot. Like we really kind of want to stay comfortable by all means at all times. And it's much harder to get people to do something even slightly uncomfortable. They would rather be on the sofa watching Netflix and just being comfortable all the time. And nothing is wrong with comfort in it on its own, in itself. Like, I'm not saying let's all get as uncomfortable as possible, but to change anything, to get anything worthy, it just inevitably takes getting yourself uncomfortable at some point, at some stage. No growth, no change, positive change is possible without it. And if you are more addicted to comfort than then you are committed to your goals, to your dreams, to what you want to create in life, you're never going to get there. You will always choose to stay comfortable, and that's it. Nothing will change. Also, another thing is, not people don't really realize that playtime is extremely important. Like, a lot of people just get into this trap of productivity by all means, like every single second of my day should be spent achieving my goals. And it's good to be a high achiever and achieve a lot. Nobody's saying it's wrong, anything wrong with that. It's just that only getting fixated on this does worse than giving yourself some time to disconnect, giving yourself some playtime, like completely unstructured, relaxed time, whatever it might look. It might be, basically the definition is doing something that you like doing and that is not directly taking you towards your goals, just for the sake of doing something you love, like children. It's a pity that as adults we forget how to play. We just don't really see value in it, but it's incredible. A lot of research is done on that, and it shows very clearly that people who actually allow themselves some playtime achieve more, they feel better, their self-esteem is higher, and on every level of life they're more fulfilled, they're more happy. So we really actually need to do it consciously. Otherwise, our culture is kind of conditioning us to just striving all the time, just efforting, striving all the time. And it's tiring. We need some time off this. So yeah, that's, is that answering your question? I'm sorry, because I just went.
Yeah, this is perfect. So my next question is exactly when can somebody achieve this moment of achievement?
What do you mean exactly?
I mean, now, like we are speaking about fixing the relationships with ourselves, self-care, and so on. So when can someone consider that this is a moment of, let's say, achieving this relationship, of success with building this good relationship? When can this moment be celebrated?
Yeah. I see what you mean. When do I know that my relationship with myself is good enough, right?
Yeah.
You will not really have doubts about it, because when it's getting better, even like a small change towards the right thing, towards just appreciating yourself more, towards being more comfortable in your skin, will give you huge jump, huge boost in just the overall happiness, overall wellness, feeling better, really feeling comfortable as you. Like, if you cannot come look in the mirror at yourself, and if you cannot say to yourself really simply, without having any inner resistance, I love you, or I love myself, I respect myself, it means some work needs to be done there. Like, when it comes naturally, you're just comfortable being you. Like, you are not trying to become somebody else to respect yourself, to pat yourself on the shoulder, like, yeah, I'm being good. You are not doing it for, some particular achievement only. Like, you achieved a huge goal that you had, and then you can say, oh, now I'm happy with how I am. you achieve that goal because you're happy with how you are. You will achieve that goal much easier when you are happy with what you are. You are not using the achievement to feel happy about yourself, to accept yourself more. So it's kind of it's a very natural thing. When you start moving into that direction, you will really feel better, and that's the feedback.
So my next question is, what tools or what techniques would you recommend for people to try to improve this relationship?
Oh, this relationship. Well, there are lots of things, and I would probably, the first thing that comes to mind is the book of on cybernetics. Yeah, I don't know if you heard of it or not, but it's like answering the same question.
Yeah.
How we actually can improve it. A lot of tools exist in this area. So it's usually kind of all under umbrella of self-love and improving self-confidence and self-esteem. And basically, if I have to summarize it, it probably is really living into the person you want to be. To do that, we need to realize, like, what's the problem? Why is the relationship with ourselves is in struggle? Like, why is that happening? Because people do have different reasons for that. It can go like as far as some childhood traumas and hurts, or something else. So it's quite in well, how shall I put it? So right now I'm doing the small group training live, and I'm going to use it to base the course and a more comprehensive self-care program on it later. And the surprising thing from the beginning was that in the first session, we all discovered that actually self-love, some tools and work with the self-love first needed to even give ourselves a better chance to tackle self-care later. So right now it became pretty much all about this, working on this relationship with ourselves. And it's really a lot of different tools and techniques that exist with that, especially working with our thoughts and thinking and self-identity. Well, I can mention a few, and probably the first one would be a practice of self-acceptance and gratitude. It's actually different things, because self-acceptance is not exactly the same. Self-acceptance will come as a result of really appreciating ourselves. Even the issue arises because we take everything we do have for granted, and we focus so much on the small negatives that are there and ignoring all the huge positives that are there, that our vision of ourselves becomes completely imbalanced, completely dysfunctional and unhealthy. So the gratitude practice is really essential. It's a core of this work. Just to realize, just to start balancing your perspective a little bit, like what's even just the miracle of what our body does for us every day. Every single organ, every single cell in it is doing its job 24/7 for us. Without us not even knowing about it, not having to do anything about it, apart from feeding ourselves and giving ourselves some sleep. Everything just happens despite everything we do to kind of create troubles for everything happening in our body by the toxic lifestyle and all the bad foods that we put in. So gratitude is absolutely essential. Also, going deeper, it's a lot of work with the thoughts that we have about ourselves. And there are tools, for example, if you are familiar with the work of Byron Katie, probably not, I'm not sure, but she is famous for creating this tool of 4 questions of working with the thoughts. Because it's actually really amazing how people, we human beings, believe our thoughts, but we don't have to. And her own story is really something very touching and impressive. I don't know if we have time here to go into it. I could tell it, but based on that, she came up with these questions to to question our thoughts, to question our beliefs that we think are true, but actually they're not. And because we think they're true and we based our actions and behaviors on them, and have all sorts of negative consequences, it's really important to just flip them, to work through them, to really see that it's all relative. Some of it might be true in some particular context, but not true in a different context. Not a single belief that we have in our mind is an absolute truth. Some of it is relative truth. Some of it is completely false. So it's very important to be able to work through that to really achieve some progress, some growth in healing this relationship with ourselves. What else I would say? Well, it's a lot of work with the self-esteem, and this work partly comes as a lot of tools and exercises related to the inner child, because a lot of our identity problems comes from the childhood, the way our parents convinced us to think, like we just injected their beliefs, injected their values and expectations, and it's not always healthy. We need to, being adults, we need to kind of look into this and take the ones that are working and get rid of the ones they don't. So this is the work on the self-esteem, and I would mention the as a tool, as a very useful tool, is probably the visualization, like a meditation, but with the imagery that you have along with that. That really creates the ground for someone who does it, for someone who does this work, creates the ground for even the possibility of feeling that person that they want to become. Because the law is, unless our mind sees the result, we cannot create this result. So we need to create it in our mind first. We need to feel how that person we want to become actually feels. And then we kind of naturally just become that person when we practice in that way. That's like the essence of the visualization.
Yeah, and so
Am I moving?
what are the 4 questions of Byron Katie?
Yeah, it's really simple, but so profound. It's absolutely incredible what shifts in the consciousness we can have, really asking ourselves these questions. So the first one is this true? You take any belief that you find in yourself that makes you feel miserable, that makes you feel bad. And her assumption is any belief like that is just not true. And to really see that it's not true, you have these 4 questions. First of them is that true? You just ask yourself. And if it really seems like true to you still, after you ask this question, the second question is, can I be absolutely 100% sure it is true? And after asking this question, you discover, well, actually, no, I cannot be 100% sure. Like, there is no proof to it. It's just your belief. It literally just lives in your head as a belief. And no, there is no way to prove that any belief is 100% true. Then the third question is, how do I feel when I believe this thought? And you just feel how you feel when you believe this thought. And if it's something like really disempowering, like, I don't know, whatever example, we all have millions of examples in our minds. It can be any idea at all. So you just start to feel like how it feels, and you can write it down. You will feel that it feels pretty shitty to believe this thought. And then the fourth question is, who would I be without this thought? And if you really do this process, like if you're really present with these questions and present with what you feel, by the fourth question, when you ask yourself, it really creates an amazing sense of freedom, because maybe for the first time in your life you realize, goodness, but it's actually possible to live without this stupid idea. It's actually quite like, it would feel ecstatic, it would feel great, it would feel liberating, like freedom. And so this is the work, like the work can be done on every single negative thought that we have. And after you've done all 4 questions, you can go even further and flip the thought, like write down the opposite of this thought. And it's so funny, because in many cases you will see that the opposite is also true. The opposite can also be true, but why did I believe only this way? It loosens up the mind. It creates the space for us to see that our beliefs are not absolute. Like, it's all really, really relative, and it's up to us what to believe. It's up to us to really pick and use in our life whatever empowers us, versus the other way around. And unless we do this work by itself, we actually end up using a lot of disempowering beliefs. It's kind of, that's how the mind works.
Yeah, that is really inspiring.
How was it this time?
So my next question is, what else would you like to add about self-care today, Ed?
What else would I like to add?
Yeah.
Well, I would also, I guess I would like to just underline, stress one more time that it's really important to see that we are our main, most valuable asset. And this is what gets overlooked, because if you ask people, what is the most valuable asset in your life? A lot of people would say time, right? Because, well, yes, time is kind of going. We cannot get any of it back. I cannot go back to 5 minutes ago. And time is not a renewable asset. Money is a renewable asset. We can spend them, we can get them back, we can make more. But time isn't. We only have kind of limited amount. And yet when people say that the time is the most important thing and most valuable, they really again miss the fact that it's not time. Time is relative. Only ourselves is the absolute. It's something that is always there. It's something that gets taken for granted. It's something that gets overlooked. Like, for example, time. If you take someone who is depressed and you ask them like how valuable the time is to you, they would say, well, all I want is to kill time. I don't know how to make it go faster and all this crappy life to be over sooner. Because time, like when you feel awful, miserable, unhappy, time is not much of a value, right? So it's all again up to how we are, how we use what we are, how we are with ourselves, and that really defines if time is even going to be of any value of us, if money is going to be of any value, if we are going to be fulfilled in life or struggle and suffer through life. So it just that I wanted to kind of stress this by the end one more time.
Yeah, it has been more than an asset talking to you, Evan, gaining these important insights into self-care. Thank you so much for that indeed.
Thank you very much for having me. Yeah, so great. It was great. And thank you very much for having me here. And I just wanted to mention at the end the ways to connect with me, because I'm always doing something in terms of self-care, and it's either on my Instagram account or Facebook page. They are both named the same, Eve the Coach, with 2 underscores. Eve the Coach, so 3 words separately. And just recently, I've created a Facebook group, private Facebook group called Self-Care Club. And this is going to be actually the primary place where I'm going to post whatever I discover and some tips and whatever I do, any announcements. So please, everyone is very welcome to connect, to come there and become a member of the group. I will be really happy to see new faces. Please join.
Thank you, Ev.